The power of vulnerability in relationships in 2025. In 2025, romantic, familial, or platonic relationships are evolving in ways that reflect our increasingly connected yet paradoxically isolated world. Technology has made communication instantaneous, but a genuine emotional connection often feels harder to find. Social media allows us to share curated versions of our lives, but behind the screens, many struggle to be fully honest about who they are, what they feel, and what they need. At the heart of authentic relationships in this modern era lies one timeless yet increasingly urgent skill: vulnerability. Vulnerability, often misunderstood as weakness, is the most profound expression of courage in relationships. It is the willingness to show up as your authentic self, without the armor of perfection, without hiding behind walls of defensiveness, and without fearing rejection so much that you deny your truth. In 2025, where filters, AI-generated personas, and online facades dominate social interaction, vulnerability stands as a revolutionary act of choice to be real in a world that rewards pretense. Redefining vulnerability in the modern context. For many, vulnerability is still seen as risky. Admitting your insecurities, confessing your fears, or showing emotional pain can seem like opening yourself to judgment or exploitation. Yet the reality is the opposite. Hiding your true self creates emotional distance, while vulnerability builds bridges. In 2025, vulnerability no longer means baring your soul to anyone without discernment. It means intentionally allowing trusted people to see the real you. It means being honest about your feelings when they are messy, expressing your needs without fear of being labeled needy, and admitting when you've made mistakes without letting shame silence you. The digital era has blurred the line between openness and oversharing. Actual vulnerability is not broadcasting every detail of your life online. It is choosing moments of authentic honesty in safe, meaningful contexts, whether that's telling your partner you're feeling disconnected, asking a friend for help when you're struggling, or sharing your dreams without downplaying them out of fear of failure. Why vulnerability matters more than ever in 2025. The world today is filled with distractions, busyness, and constant noise. Most of us are inundated with content but starving for proper connection. Vulnerability cuts through that noise. It tells the person before you, "I trust you enough to let you see who I am." That trust is the foundation of intimacy. Without it, relationships become superficial exchanges rather than soulful connections. In 2025, many people are also grappling with post-pandemic relationship dynamics, remote work isolation, and a deepened awareness of mental health. The conversations around well-being have expanded, but they require people to be willing to say, "I'm not okay right now," without fear of stigma. Vulnerability creates space for those conversations to exist and thrive. In romantic relationships, vulnerability fosters emotional intimacy, which can't be faked or replaced by material gestures. It allows partners to navigate conflict with compassion instead of defensiveness. In friendships, vulnerability makes it possible to go beyond small talk and into the territory where absolute loyalty and support live. In family dynamics, it breaks cycles of generational silence and opens the door to healing old wounds. The science behind vulnerability and connection. Psychologists have long studied the role of vulnerability in forming strong bonds. Research by Dr. Brené Brown, a leading expert on vulnerability, shows that vulnerability is not only the birthplace of love and belonging, but also the root of creativity, courage, and joy. When you allow yourself to be seen fully, you invite others to do the same, creating a ripple effect of authenticity. From a neurological perspective, vulnerability activates areas of the brain associated with empathy and trust. When someone opens up to us, our brains release oxytocin, a hormone that deepens social bonding and fosters feelings of closeness. In other words, vulnerability is not just an emotional act. It's a biological catalyst for connection. In 2025, with increasing reliance on virtual communication, replicating this connection requires intentionality. Video calls, text messages, and voice notes lack the full richness of in-person interactions. Still, vulnerability can bridge that gap by infusing digital exchanges with sincerity and emotional depth. The barriers to vulnerability in modern relationships. If vulnerability is so powerful, why is it so rare? In 2025, there are unique challenges that make vulnerability harder to practice. 1. Fear of judgment. Social media culture often rewards perfection and punishes perceived weakness. Many fear that opening up will lead to ridicule, gossip, or a loss of respect. 2. Past trauma. For those who have been betrayed, manipulated, or rejected after vulnerability, the instinct is to protect themselves from future pain. 3. Cultural conditioning. Some cultures and upbringings teach that emotions should be hidden, that stoicism is strength, and that vulnerability is weakness. 4. Fear of burdening others. People often hold back their struggles out of fear of becoming a burden, forgetting that authentic relationships are built on mutual support. 5. Digital distance. The shift toward online interactions can make it easier to hide behind screens and avoid deep emotional exchanges. Overcoming these barriers requires personal courage and a relationship environment where vulnerability is respected rather than exploited. Practicing vulnerability in 2025, a guide. Like any skill, vulnerability can be cultivated. Here are practical steps to embrace it in your relationships. 1. Start small. You don't need to share your deepest secrets immediately. Begin with smaller truths like admitting you're stressed at work or telling a friend you miss them. Over time, as trust builds, more profound vulnerability becomes easier. 2. Choose safe people. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your vulnerabilities. Share with people who have shown consistency, empathy, and respect for your privacy. 3. Own your story. Instead of framing your vulnerability as weakness, see it as a demonstration of self-awareness and courage. I'm struggling right now, but I'm working on it. Communicates honesty and resilience. 4. Listen without defensiveness. Vulnerability isn't just about sharing, it's also about receiving. When someone else is vulnerable with you, resist the urge to fix, judge, or minimize. Sometimes presence and empathy are enough. 5. Use technology mindfully. In 2025, you can express vulnerability through voice notes, video calls, or thoughtful messages. But make sure it's personal and intentional, not just a fleeting post for likes. 6. Pair vulnerability with boundaries. Being vulnerable doesn't mean oversharing or allowing others to treat you poorly. Healthy vulnerability involves sharing in ways that protect your emotional safety. Vulnerability as a superpower in love. In romantic relationships, vulnerability transforms the dynamic from transactional to deeply intimate. It's easy to say, "I love you," but harder to say, "I'm scared of losing you," or "I feel insecure when this happens." Yet those moments of honesty invite your partner into your inner world, creating intimacy that can't be achieved through surface-level interactions. Couples who practice vulnerability in 2025 are better equipped to navigate life's uncertainties. They face challenges as a united front because each partner feels seen, heard, and valued for their strengths and humanity. They don't have to waste energy pretending to be perfect. Instead, they can invest that energy into growing together. Friendships that thrive on vulnerability. True friendship is built on trust, and trust is built on vulnerability. In 2025, where friend can mean someone you follow online but rarely meet in person, genuine friendships are gold. Vulnerability turns casual acquaintances into lifelong allies. Sharing your fears, dreams, and struggles with friends deepens relationships beyond shared hobbies or interests. When you tell a friend, "I'm struggling right now," and they respond with empathy rather than judgment, it cements a bond that no amount of time or distance can break. Vulnerability in family healing. Family relationships can be complicated with history, expectations, and unspoken rules. Vulnerability in family settings often requires breaking patterns like the tendency to avoid emotional topics or the pressure always to appear strong. In 2025, more people are choosing to have open, vulnerable conversations with family members, even about complex topics like mental health. childhood experiences, or unmet emotional needs. While not every family member may be receptive, those conversations can be powerful steps toward healing generational wounds. The ripple effect of vulnerability. When you choose vulnerability, you don't just change your relationships, you inspire others to do the same. A friend who sees you open up about your struggles may feel safer to share their own. A partner who hears you admit your fears may feel encouraged to reveal theirs. In workplaces, vulnerability from leaders creates psychologically safe environments where employees feel valued as people, not just as roles. In communities, vulnerability fosters unity, empathy, and cooperation. In a world that often prioritizes image over authenticity, vulnerability is a quiet rebellion, a declaration that being real matters more than perfect. The courage to be seen. Ultimately, the power of vulnerability in relationships in 2025 comes down to the courage to be seen. To be loved not for the mask you wear, but for the truth you embody. To risk rejection to invite an authentic connection. Yes, vulnerability carries risks. You might be misunderstood. You might face judgment. But the alternative, a life of guarded interactions and surface-level relationships, is far more costly. You can have comfort without vulnerability, but not a deep connection, safety, and intimacy. Final thought. In 2025, the most powerful relationships are not built on perfection, but on authenticity. Vulnerability is the bridge between two souls. The raw, unfiltered truth says, "This is who I am. Do you still choose me?" And when the answer is yes, love, friendship, and trust reach their most valid form.